The 5 times daily obligatory prayers are mandated for Muslims to perform. It says in Sunan Abu Dawud 495, narrated Abdullah ibn Amr, the Messenger of Allah said, "Command your children to pray when they become 7 years old, and beat them for it when they become 10 years old, and arrange their beds separately." Here is a picture from a video showing ISIS whipping men for missing their prayers. Question: are what they and other so-called extremists such as the Taliban not from what Muhammad instructs Muslims to do? The 5 daily prayers are the Fajr, Zuhr, Asr, Maghrib and Isha prayers. Each prayer differs from one another in some details and are performed with random and arbitrary actions in a language most Muslims in the world do not know. The Friday prayers takes place in the mosque at the Zuhr time, again with some differences to the usual afternoon prayers. The Quran does not explicitly mention these 5 prayers, although it is an integral part of a Muslim's daily duties. If anything, the Quran seems to indicate 2 or 3 as opposed to 5 daily prayers. It says in Quran 17:78, establish prayer at the decline of the sun to the darkness of the night, and also the recitation of the Quran at dawn. Indeed, the recitation at dawn is ever witnessed. In Quran 11:114, it says, and establish prayer at the 2 ends of the day and at the approach of the night. Indeed, good deeds do away with misdeeds. That is a reminder for those who remember. The more explicit references to the 5 times prayers are found in the secondary sources of hadith. For example, this one in Sahih Muslim 612. Muslims are required to pray 5 times a day regardless of where they happen to be at the time. The Quran instructs Muslims to face the direction of the Kaaba in Mecca when they pray. This direction is called the Qibla, and the edict is found in Quran 2:149. So from wherever you go out, turn your face toward the sacred mosque, and indeed it is the truth from your Lord, and Allah is not unaware of what you do. As to face the Qibla is a necessary condition for the prayers. To have the back towards it whilst praying is an abomination, highly offensive, and nullifies the prayer. For example, taught in the majority of Islamic seminaries around the world is a book called Nur al-Ida. It is a classical manual of jurisprudential law. It says on page 136, quote, it is conditional to face the direction of prayer. Accordingly, the one living in Mecca who can see the Kaaba is required to face it directly, whereas the one who cannot see the Kaaba must face its direction, i.e. its location, even if he is in Mecca, and this is the most correct view. With respect to the diagram below, the person seated to the far right is legally regarded as facing the Qibla, while the person in the middle is truly facing it. End quote. With the aforementioned as a backdrop, it seems that the author of the Quran did not know of the spherical nature of the earth. In consideration, if someone was equidistant in relation to the antipode in Mecca, at the point of facing Mecca for prayers, their backs will also be towards Mecca. In this situation, the front and back is the Qibla, or direction to Mecca. This is a display of disrespect which is prohibited in Islam, but only presents itself due to the spherical nature of the earth. But it would not have been a problem if the earth was considered flat. The Quran does not give the impression that it knew about this at all. Muslims are to pray at certain set times. It says in Quran 4:103, indeed, prayer has been decreed upon the believers a decree of specified times. Here are some diagrams showing the system of the prayer time, where it shows the prescribed times of the prayers. depicted in place of the position of the sun in the sky relative to the worshipper. In view of their geographical location and of the season, it is prone to daily changes. Eventually, there are huge fluctuations in times from region to region, or as will be explained shortly, not to be able to pray at all due to astronomical anomalies which the Quran or Hadith did not seem to know about. Due to Muslims having to pray on the basis of sunlight or the absence of it, and because of the rotation of the sun and its seasons, there are huge discrepancies in timing depending where Muslims happen to live on earth at the time. For example, circled in red, for cities like Aberdeen in Scotland, the gap between the night prayer and the dawn prayer can be around only 4.5 hours in June. This is not much time to sleep, whereas the same prayers in the same month of June in Mecca is a more reasonable 8 hours, for whom it remains more constant throughout the year compared to those in the extremities of the northern or southern hemispheres. In Auckland, New Zealand, it is a further 11-hour difference between the two prayers, with Fajr at 5:54 a.m. and Isha 6:41 p.m. There are further discrepancies throughout the year due to seasonal changes that cause some prayers to be prayed consecutively in the winter, whereas in the summer the same prayers are more spaced out. This is important because it is often said by Muslims that the 5 times daily prayers are to be performed so as to serve as a constant reminder of Allah throughout the day. But in the Northern Hemisphere, such as the UK, 3 of the 5 daily prayers can be read within a 3-hour period in winter. This obviously negates the notion that the 5 daily prayers were ordained for remembering Allah throughout the day at spaced out intervals. These challenges would likely not have been on the mind of the author of the Quran during 7th century Arabia, as those areas that are closer to the equatorial region from which Islam originated from, the length of days do not change as drastically compared to those in the extremities of the northern or southern hemispheres. Shown here in Svalbard, Norway, the northernmost inhabited region of Europe, there is no sunset from approximately 19th of April to 23rd of August. At the poles, the sun can be continuously visible for half the year. In the North Pole, the midnight sun is visible for 6 months from late March to late September. In these regions, prayers cannot be performed according to the instructions found in the Quran or the Hadith. Here, pictured in the middle, is Alaska. Residents of Barrow, the northernmost town in Alaska, do not see the sun for 67 days in winter. So for them, they cannot perform the prayers according to the instructions found in the Quran or the Hadith. Finally, here, at the bottom, is a picture of Antarctica. For 6 months of the year, the sun never rises, and for them, for 6 months, it never sets. Again, prayers cannot be fulfilled according to the instructions found in the Quran or the Hadith. In order to deal with this problem, an often quoted Hadith by Muslims is that about Dajjal and the portents of the last hour. The full Hadith is in the description. The relevant section from a lengthy Hadith found in Riyadh al-Salihin 1808, seemingly to deal with the problem of praying where the earth is in perpetual sunlight or darkness. The relevant section quoted is, "We asked, O Messenger of Allah, how long will he stay on earth? He said, for 40 days. One day will be like a year, one day like a month, one day like a week, and the rest of the days will be like your days." We said, O Messenger of Allah, will one day's salat or prayer suffice for the salat of that day, which will be equal to 1 year? Thereupon he said, no, but you must make an estimate of time and then offer salat. An analysis of this response. Few issues arise from this. Number one, the hadith is talking about a myth when a supernatural being called the Antichrist comes sometime in the future. Within Islamic eschatology, it is a time in which the normal calculations of time will be different. The Antichrist, who is a demonic figure, is said to perform illusions, bend reality, and distort people's concept of perceptions. This hadith has absolutely nothing to do with the natural phenomena of the sun's movement along the horizon, which varies with the time of year and also latitude. Also, as sunlight or its absence is an indicator for the prayers, at a time when clocks and watches did not exist, for Muhammad to tell his followers to make an estimate of the time seems rather fatuous. Finally, the point still remains: the Quran instructs believers to pray at set times. The absence of sunlight or the continuation of it negates being able to pray at the set times in some parts of the world, which the Quran never addresses when it should have if it was revealed by an all-knowing God. So in conclusion, the prayers are mandated in Islam, so much so physical violence is promoted if anyone misses them. The Qibla direction towards which Muslims are to pray is applicable if a flat earth model was believed in. Indeed, as shown in previous videos, Muslim scholars have been on record suggesting that the earth is flat and it does not revolve around the sun. The wisdom of praying 5 times a day according to sunlight or darkness causes huge discrepancies in timing depending on a person's geographical location. This order does not seem to be instituted by an all-knowing, omniscient, just God. The timings of the prayers are arbitrary. It does not take into account for the people living in areas other than the Middle East. There are places on Earth, due to its unique astronomical anomalies, where the prayers just cannot take place according to the Quranic instructions.